Today's video is brought to you by AlmostHeaven.com. Handcrafting at-home saunas since 1977. Want better sleep, less stress, and faster recovery? Now's the perfect time. Shop saunas, cold plunges, hybrids, and accessories. Use our exclusive code at checkout to save 5%. Link below.
And good to talk to you again, Bo Parrish. I'm being very formal with you. I apologize for that. Today is about embracing a topic that starts with the letter U. And it sounds complicated when we talk about it, but you have a very simple and easy way to clarify this. And it's the fear of the unknown, but it's a place we want to strive for in a way, it sounds like.
Absolutely. And Dave, as we've discussed in previous episodes, we as a society overvalue comfort. And comfort comes in repetition. It comes in familiarity. It comes in doing the same things over and over and over again. And the problem is that ultimately a comfort zone is built. And once it's built, we confine ourselves to us at the expense of character growth. Now, we and most of our listeners are in the process of improvement in all areas of our lives, because after all, if nothing ever changes, everything stays the same. And we weren't created just for survival. We were created to thrive. The human race is different than any other living organism on the face of the earth. And you think about all the accomplishments that humans have put forth since the beginning of time. Well, we are in the process of improvement, innovation, and it all comes with our ability to embrace, as you so eloquently put, the unknown. So today, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper on this whole concept of the unknown, because it is exactly opposite of familiarity, of comfort, of routine. Because anytime we try something new, first and foremost, we've made a decision, and that decision is, I am not 100% content with my current situation. And so therefore, I am going to take action. In previous episodes, we've defined potential as simply the difference between where we are now and where we want to be. And so the first step in this process is to make a decision to change something about our lives. Very quickly thereafter, that action is going to be met with one of two fears, with one of two pain points. And the good thing is we get to choose which type of pain we want to encounter, because pain is impossible to avoid. It's a byproduct of life, unless we confine ourselves to that comfort zone and remain obscure for the 60, 70, 80 years we're on this earth. That's not us. That's not our listeners. So we're not even going to spend any more time there. We've made the decision to pursue our potential, and we know that pain is going to result. So here are the two types of pain, and this is where the unknown really starts to factor into our discussion. When we attempt to change something in our life, the first type of pain that we could possibly encounter is stepping into the unknown. Now, that would be an indication that we have indeed taken action. Taking that first step is terrifying. If it wasn't, there would be zero risk involved. But we know those who are rewarded decided to take huge risks early on. And the most successful people we know today are in the business of taking risks. Not because they necessarily love risk, not because they love experiencing the nerve-wracking moments in the moment, but they know ultimately that that risk is going to result in a reward. So the unknown plays into this whole risk that is involved with attempting to change something in our lives. Now, it's not comfortable. It's not easy. It's frustrating. It's disappointing. After all, it could result in a failure because it is unfamiliar. None of us are mind readers. None of us can predict the future. If we knew what rested on the other side of our immediate action, well, there'd be no unknown about it. It would just be the way or what is next. So that's the first type of pain. And it is painful because it is not familiar to us. It's like you and I getting on a plane today and traveling to China. The minute we landed in Beijing, could we communicate? We may find a couple nationals that could speak English, but largely you and I would be like fish out of water because we would not know the language. How would we survive in Beijing, China, if we weren't stepping into the unknown and embracing the pain that came with that first decision? So this is really where I want to focus our audience to not only endure, but to embrace, because we're absolutely incapable of finding and reaching our true potential, which is going to lead us to our passion, if we aren't willing to hang out in the unknown. The first time is always the hardest, just like riding a bike, just like learning how to swim, just like learning how to parallel park. It gets easier each time we do it. Not to say that it ever becomes easy, but we program ourselves to embrace the unknown, which allows us to become more comfortable with being, and here's another U word, uncomfortable. The unknown, the uncomfortable leads us to experience the greatest character growth in the minds of finding our true purpose. And I apologize for Charlie crying in the background. I hope that's not too loud. It's unknown that he was just going to start tuning up during our conversation.
Now, you said there's two types of pain. One is walking into the unknown. Did you mention the second one yet?
So the second one is one that we all would like to avoid at all possible costs. And that would be the pain of regret. Whereas the unknown is very much a byproduct of taking action and moving forward. Pain of regret is an indication of never having done anything to begin with. Regret is making it to the end of your life and saying, I wish I would have fill in the blank. Regret is not something that we can ever overcome because regret analyzes life from the rear view mirror. And we cannot drive a car, much less that we can go back 20 years and relive that moment where we take regret out of the picture. I mean, Dave, if I were to ask you in this moment, can you tell me your greatest regret up to this point in your life? I bet you wouldn't have to think too long or hard to be able to come up with an answer, because regrets cripple us. Regrets are hardwired in our brain because at this point, regrets, there's nothing, absolutely nothing we can do about it. That to me is a pain that's worse, far worse than stepping out into the unknown.
Back up about even 8 minutes ago, you mentioned this, and I thought it was very fascinating and interesting, is that people build themselves into a comfortable box or surrounding, and we have to get outside of that comfortable box or that environment. And I never looked at it that way. If that's what we do, we set ourselves up to be comfortable, but you're saying we need to face this unknown because on the opposite end of that unknown is the reward or is what's going to challenge us in the long run.
No question. And the reason that comfort is so attractive to us is by nature, we are acceptance magnets. We tend to be pulled in the areas where we are affirmed, where we are met with the greatest approval. We set up paths and systems for ourselves that allow us to better navigate our worlds, our work, our relationships. where we become our own focal point. So where inward focus becomes all about, how do I navigate this day in a way that is going to minimize pain and maximize predictability? When it comes to the unknown, there is nothing predictable about what's next. Because if we knew the result of our risk before we took that risk, well, I'm not so sure there would be a reward waiting for us.
So we need to strive for this area of uncertainty, this gray zone to find our potential.
Absolutely, because you may not know what your potential is. You may have an indication, and potential can be born out of necessity, say in the sense where someone loses their job in a particular industry and they have a skill set that has not been tested, and it all depends on their ability to generate income to pay the bills. Now, that's one type of pain, but then on the other side, potential could be birthed in curiosity. And that could be a point where, hey, I'm really interested in learning how to play guitar. I can play one chord, but what if I took lessons? What if I applied myself? What if I became a student of guitar? Who knows where that could lead? We do not know until we go. We have to try in order to not only get by, but to fly. And I know I'm using a lot of words that rhyme and sound similar, but again, I'm trying to communicate the point. How do we know if we never go? Potential unpursued is nothing more than wasted talent. Wasted talent is always going to translate into regret.
Here's a question, and I hope this is along the same lines, but what would you say to someone who is really good at something versus something somebody wants to pursue because they have a passion for it? And let's say you're really good at something, but you really don't. I mean, maybe you're not as good. Maybe you don't have the passion for it. But have I confused you enough? I'm not sure.
Absolutely. So let me answer that question with the dynamic that exists between talent and desire. Okay, so let's take the example of someone who is just beginning a new interest, has relatively no experience, but is absolutely passionate, ready to set the world on fire. Their desire is at a 10 and their talent is at a 2. Well, because the desire is so high, they are going to continue to pursue, to practice, to better themselves to where that talent, which is beginning at a 2, is going to steadily rise. Whereas that desire that was already at a 10 is going to remain a 10 and even bust the curve even higher and higher. So for someone with a huge amount of desire and a small amount of talent, ultimately that talent is going to catch up with that desire. And when you have a 10 on talent and a 10 on desire, that is where purpose is met. Where on the flip side, if you have someone who has a talent at a level of 10 and a desire at a level of 2, well, in this world of innovation that we live in, eventually that talent, if there's no desire, is going to run out. The competition is going to catch up. And when that talent starts to diminish, with the desire already being so low, there's really no reason that talent is going to last, because now everyone around you is just as good, if not better, because of their burning desire. Desire is not something that you can coach. You either have it or you don't. Whereas those that are filled with desire are the ones that are more likely to embrace the unknown. Whereas the talented, they tend to take their abilities for granted, and it's something that they've always done. It's routine, it's comfortable, and that comfort eventually is going to crush their ability to move forward.
So if someone was really good at a certain skill set, but they didn't like it, versus someone who loved a certain career, but weren't very good at it, you would say pursue that passion, versus just because you're great at it doesn't mean you should pursue it.
You got it.
Okay.
You hit the nail on the head. I couldn't put it any better myself.
And I stumbled through it. So the idea is really is dare to take these risks and embrace the unknown, because that's where the ultimate success is, or the ultimate personal reward lies.
The unknown is the epitome of explosive character growth. And until you go, you will never know.
How'd you come up with this topic today? Why'd you pick unknown?
So obviously you is a bit of an awkward letter. And as we continue in our endurance/life skills alphabet, it's what else could we do with the U that would fit into our theme of the last couple of weeks, considering where we're headed into the future. And, I was just thinking last night, was engaged in my first ever book signing. Okay, I just published my book, which came out yesterday, and Barnes and Noble in Nashville hosted a book signing for me. Well, on the drive out there, I was as nervous as I could possibly be, and I'm not a nervous guy. I'm like, where is this coming from? Where is this anxiety, this uneasy, this apprehension? And it's because I've never done it before. I didn't know if 100 people or 2 people were going to show up. So it was all unfamiliar. It was all unknown. And I was a nervous wreck until I got there. The book signing began at 7. I was met with an overwhelming amount of support. And before I knew it, it was 8:30, 30 minutes beyond my time slot, and the store was closing down after having sold every copy that I bought. So it was stepping into that unknown that now I'm ready to do 2 more as soon as I possibly can, because that was my first step into the unknown, doing an actual book signing, and who knows where it will go. But the most important thing for me was getting it done and then showing up to see what happened. And that was my application on the unknown.
What a great example, a great real life example. And thanks for sharing that, because that can be pretty scary. And now the thing is that you're enthusiastic about the next signing.
Absolutely. And what's unknown right now is when my 13-week-old boys are going to decide to start crying. And I'm very sorry, which I know that's coming in the background, but hey, they're growing like weeds, and it's unknown when they're going to just lose their minds, which I guess would be an appropriate time to close. So, Dave, thank you so much for your time today. Go kill them out there on the West Coast, my friend.
Thank you very much, Bo, and congratulations on your first book signing, and to many more to come.
Thank you, Dave.
Looking for a great at-home sauna at a great price? Get 5% off any indoor or outdoor sauna, cold plunge, or infrared sauna from Almost Heaven with my discount code DAVE, 5% off at checkout. For over 40 years, Almost Heaven saunas have been trusted as the top American home sauna manufacturer. Almost Heaven saunas deliver high-quality products and firmly stands behind the holistic benefits the sauna brings to your mind and your body. Again, get 5% off any order with my discount code DAVE, 5% off at almostheaven.com. There's also a direct link below this video.